This is just sad. Oh my goodness. So I came across this clip on Twitter and it has blown up since then. Because you have four people, right? You have this white girl, you have this white boy, and two black girls. And this white girl asked the white boy, what's one race you wouldn't date? Now, right off the bat, that's a wild question.
What's one race you wouldn't date?
That's obviously a divisive question to ask. Because if you're saying one race you wouldn't date, you're gonna have to explain why you wouldn't date that race. And more than likely, most people on average aren't gonna be able to cogently express why they wouldn't date that other race without coming off as racially prejudiced. It's as simple as that, without being labeled a racist or anything else. That's why I say it's a divisive but also loaded question to an extent. The white boy, he comes out and says, well, black women. That's what he says. Now, the juxtaposition of his answer with the two black girls there is wild.
I'm not into black women.
Oh.
That shows that this dude doesn't give two iotas, two F's about anything that they have to say or that they care or how they feel, right? And I'm not knocking it, right? I'm not knocking it. If that's what he believes, that's how he conducts his dating life, then he's giving an honest answer. Now, of course, this leads to the black girls laughing and giggling, and one of them says something that is extremely heartbreaking, just extremely heartbreaking, and that is she asks, why does she keep on getting this answer? Now, let's pause for a second.
Why is this always the answer? I need to know this right now.
How do we deal with this? Does she mean that from men in general, or does she mean that specifically from white boys? That she keeps on getting this answer, they don't date black women, because those are two different things. I don't know which one it is, but I think either of the two is pretty sad. It's pretty freaking sad, because is that a reflection on you? Is that a reflection on how you conduct yourself, or is that a reflection on the men that you choose to get with? Are you attracted to men who seem not to be attracted to black women? And there's so much going on in there, and I wish the host would have directed, her question to ask her, hey, why do you get this answer? Why do you keep on getting this answer? Because I think that's a bigger subject than what he said. Nevertheless, they gloss over it. And the other black girl, she's like, well, is it because you find me attractive? You're saying I'm ugly?
So you think I'm ugly?
No, that's not it. You're conventionally a very pretty girl. It's just a preference. I actually tried to kind of see a black girl for a little bit, but I just couldn't get into it.
And the white boy's like, no, I think you're conventionally attractive. I just couldn't get into it, because he says that he had previously been with a black girl and he couldn't get into it. Now, here's the thing, what caught me off guard, because he then continues to say that if the girl is biracial, right, that, if she's biracial, then it's okay, then it's different, right, then it's different.
If a girl's half, it's different. But a girl who's fully black, for some reason, it's just...
So it's just like a preference of skin tone. So you don't like black people?
No, I love black people, but I'm just not attracted sexually to black women.
But if she's just all black, then that's a no-go. Now, Lord in heaven, I don't know what to say of that. I don't know what to say of that, because I was thinking, does he just not like dark-skinned women? Is that what it is? Does he not, right? Because there are some people who suffer from colorism. Maybe this white boy, just happens to be racist, and that's how he was brought up to believe. But that's not the case. And the reason why I say that can't be the case, because both of the women there, one is light-skinned, and one is not. One is like milk chocolate. She's like brown. She's not even dark chocolate. So I'm like, I don't understand where this is coming from. I don't get it. Because it's not like either of them are dark-skinned black women. So it just caught me off guard. She then goes on to say, so you have a preference, you don't have a preference. It's like, that's an issue that I have in this clip and in other clips, because it's gotten to the point where, that's just my preference. Now, before I get into the whole preference bullcrap, let's analyze or look into these women's reactions, because upon him saying that, the white girl goes and asks the black girl, one of the black girls, okay, what's one race you can date? And she immediately says and looks at him, Caucasian men.
What's one race that you wouldn't date? Definitely Caucasian men.
Totally understand.
I could be wrong. And listen, I'm not always right, just 99.9% of the time, but I could be wrong. It seems as if she was butthurt by the white boy saying that he doesn't find black women attractive. That's what it seemed like. She was butthurt, and that's where that response came from. Because I feel like if he had said, any other race besides black women, I feel like she would have said any other race besides black women. Because it just came off as vindictive. Well, you say black women, well, I'm going to say white men. And he was completely unbothered by the answer. Completely unbothered by the answer, because he's like, well, I don't like you anyway. So good. This is a win-win for me. So I think there is an issue there where I would argue it stems from, as Dr. Jagory would say, post-traumatic slave syndrome, where there's, this acceptance from, white men and, vice versa. Not vice versa for them, but when it comes to black men in some cases, it's this acceptance from other groups. And I think as a collective, we suffer from this. And it's our desire to want to be accepted by other groups, whether it's Latino, whether it's the white, whether it's the Asian community. And you see this throughout time when you're giving out an olive branch when it comes to illegal immigrants. Oh, this is horrible, kids being locked up in cages. When you're giving out an olive branch when it comes to, stop Asian hate. Yeah, this is horrible, we gotta stop Asian hate. When you're giving an olive branch when it comes to Israel and foreign aid. Hey, this is horrible what Israel's doing, we gotta support, Palestine and stuff like that. And you see all these olive branches, and the problem is none of them are returned. And I think that is absolutely crucial. The fact of pointing out and acknowledging there is no reciprocity going on. So everyone is getting over on you, and you're not getting anything in return. There is that desire to want to be liked by black Americans. It's not present. So we're always at a loss in this race, in this hustle, in this country from a variety of areas. It seems that to be the case with these two women, unfortunately, where they wanted to be, desired by this white boy. Now, I also understand that there's a desire to want to, appear attractive to the opposite sex, 100%. But when that desire is not, ubiquitous, is that desire is not evenly applied across the board, then you have to do some digging. Why do I want to feel desirable towards this group, and I don't care if I'm non-desirable towards that group? That's where, the post-traumatic slave syndrome and just a self-awareness would come into play. This then leads us to the whole preference nonsense, because I hear this all throughout, the manosphere, the womansphere, all this nonsense. Oh, it's my preference, You even hear it with Fresh and Fit and the goofiness there. Now, I want to break down why I believe this to be goofiness. I have a preference for pizza with sausage and pineapple. Pineapple goes on pizza. I don't care what you have to say. You're wrong. I like that. That's my preference, okay? You bring me pizza with sausage and pineapple, A-okay. However, having said that, if you bring me a pizza with just pepperoni, right, that doesn't mean that I'm not going to eat it. That means, yeah, I will eat it 100%. I like pizza, but I have a preference. I prefer one over the other. What people have somehow conflated is you preferring one over the other with absolute exclusion. That's not the same thing. So when you have Fresh and Fit and some of these clowns talking about, that's why I don't date black women, or when you have some of these women, that's why I don't date black men and things like that. That's not saying that you have a preference for non-black men. That's not saying you have a preference for non-black women. That's saying that you exclude them entirely. Because if you have a preference for other than, this group, that doesn't mean you exclude them. That means that if you come across someone that you find attractive, yeah, you'll date them, but you have a preference for this. This may not be available, but that doesn't mean you decline, what is available. That's the issue that I have. So when I hear people such as this, white boy comes out and says, well, that's just my preference. I think it's a black girl who said that. That's just your preference. That is foolishness. Okay? That's absolute foolishness. You excluding one group, there has to be a reason for that. And 9 out of 10, it's not a healthy reason. 9 out of 10, it's usually not a justified reason. When you have, the clans and the white nationalists and whatnot, it's like, hey, I want to keep it pure, okay? Because I find them to be inferior. I find them to be lesser. I find their genes to be inferior. That's usually the ballpark of where many of these, these reasons of exclusion stems from. Usually the case, all right? I'm just saying. Not to make this racial, I'm just making an observation. That's usually where I hear this from. Because I want to be clear, fine is fine. It's as simple as that, all right? Now, if you're a black man and you choose to date only black women, that is not the same thing as you not finding the Asian, the Latina, the white girl, the whatever, attractive. You can find them attractive, okay? But make a choice. Well, I'm only going to get with this group due to this reason, yada, yada, yada. That is not the same thing as what the white boy is saying. He's saying that he doesn't even find y'all sexually attractive. That's what he's saying. Now, I don't know how you can find someone conventionally attractive, but not sexually attractive, okay? And that predominantly being off of the skin color. Or that's what it sounds like to me. But then it can't be off of the skin color because neither of them are really dark skinned. So it just seems like he's all over the place. So I don't understand where it comes from. And that's where you get in the weeds of trying to just, figure out where does this stem from? Because when you hear, a black woman say, hey, I don't date black men. Well, where does this stem from? Right? Is there some type of past trauma that you've dealt with? Because it sounds like the white kid had some type of traumatic experience where he couldn't get with it or whatever. I forgot his words, but that's what it sounds like. And that's understandable. If you have an aversion to a group of men or a group of women due to a past trauma, it's understandable. I think you could probably overcome it with therapy, but it's understandable. It's a reasonable understanding of why you may avoid. But some people don't even have that, right? Or sometimes they'll have a bad experience with a black man and completely sign them off, right? Completely write them off, no more. But have the same bad experience with a white man and continue on. Or have the same, a black man have a bad experience with a black woman, completely write them off, but then have the same bad experience with an Asian and continue on. Or a white woman, continue on. Or a Latina, continue on. So I think when it comes to the collective, there is definitely some post-traumatic slave syndrome that impacts those choices. Whether consciously or not, I would argue there's definitely an impact there of being in this country. Because there has been, hundreds and hundreds of years, generations of you constantly being told you're less than. Of you constantly being told your nose is too big, okay? Your nose is too big, your lips are too big, black women, your butts are too big, you're too curvaceous, you're just out of shape. Until the point that they then change their mind and say, you know what? We want those lips. Let's get fillers. You know what? We want those butts. Let's get the BBL. You know what? We want, the hairstyles. We think that's exotic, right? Oh, that's so exotic. So the point in time where you, as far as gather your self-worth off of what the country, which has been historically anti-black, dictates what is beauty, you're always going to be in a problematic situation. You're always going to have some type of insecurity issues. Always. You cannot base your attractiveness off of what the country says. You can't do that. But the country has a different narrative to promote. So you have to base, as far as your self-worth, off of you being a child of God. That's what you have to do. Like, hey, I am who I am. There's only one of me. Only one of me. So I think this video is quite telling of a lot of the trauma that has been historically and generationally passed down, and a lot of the conditioning that has happened in this country. I think, when it comes to the preference and everything, I think many of them, not saying that this white boy, exclusively, but I think many people use that as code for, just undercover racism, whether they're aware of it or not, because the same thing can go for black people as well. And we clearly, YouTube is filled with such, drivel and such, content. So I think we just need to be self-aware. I think that's the biggest thing, is being self-aware of the conditioning, self-aware of the propaganda that has been disseminated to us throughout the generation. Anyways, guys, that's the video. Let me know what you guys think. Whether or not you believe, look, everyone has a preference, okay? You can't tell someone that their preference is racist. You can't do that, Lucas, okay? He has a preference, they have a preference. It is what it is. Or if you don't believe, I'm not saying that your preference is racist. That's not at all. But you have to dive into, why do you have that preference? Where did that preference stem from? Where does that come from, right? So I think upon diving into that, that journey, you may come to find out that, oh shoot, I had this experience where I was told that, I was ugly, or this group of people said, my nose was too big, or this blah, blah, blah. Or you have an experience, a traumatic experience that has shaped how you view the world, that has shaped your dating life. So I think that's important. Now, if all of that, all things equal, that's just what you prefer. It's like, I just have a preference for this because of this, this, and this, and this. Then so be it. I have nothing, I don't have any issue with that, bruh. None whatsoever. Now, if you happen to disagree with the video, you're more than welcome to call in during disagreement day. You know how it runs. Friday to Sunday, call in, we duke it out. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please feel free to like, share, comment. Let me know what you guys think. Is there something that I'm missing here when it comes to these two ladies, when it comes to the white girl who even asked this question? I don't know if this is a question she may ask on every podcast episode where this comes from, but it's very interesting. It's very interesting because even historically, many of the white women have been the ones who have been antagonistic and have been the agitators of unfortunate events in American history. Having said that, feel free to subscribe and that fun stuff. Till next time, guys, be amazing.
But I'm just not attracted sexually to black women.